We're joined today by Walter Power, the CEO of the Grand Ho Tram Resort and Casino. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here. My pleasure.
You have a lot of experience in gaming, over 30 years experience in gaming, I think 18 years of which were spent in Macau.
That's right, yes.
And then about 4 years now that you've been with Grand Ho Tram.
That's right.
How would you compare those vastly different gaming markets of Macau and Vietnam?
Yeah, it's very interesting. First thing I would say is that even a place like Macau has transitioned over the last 18 years. When the team opened up the Sands Macau, which was the first Western casino in Macau, Macau is vastly different than it is today. And with being isolated out of Macau for 3 years during COVID, I came back recently and I could just tell the difference even in the short time that I had been away. So it was a developing market when I got there. It's certainly a mature market currently, but that being said, with the changes in VIP/mass market, Macau has changed dramatically, and I'm quite optimistic about Macau's future in that regard, but it is certainly changing. Vietnam is casinos have been there for years. Grand Ho Tram, where I work, has been open for 10 years, but there's been differing strategies because of the growth of the Vietnam's economy. There's more expats coming into Vietnam, specifically Ho Chi Minh City. And that's changed the marketing focus of expats toward Ho Tram. As you might know, our casino is limited to foreign passport holders. So we have to focus on the Korean market, the Taiwanese market, the Chinese market, and the other expat markets, including Vietnamese with dual passports that are located near Ho Chi Minh.
Mm-hmm. If you had to do a breakdown of the nationality of your players, how would you say?
Yeah, in general, and I think that this would apply for both numbers and revenue, approximately 40% of our business is from Korea. Approximately 28% is from mainland China, and maybe 20% is from Taiwan. And then you have Hong Kong, Singapore, Australian, and the Vietnam, what's called Viet Kieu market as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, China's been a bit slow to open up. We were expecting that the floodgates would open back in January, and then the outbound travel has been severely limited. There were some estimates that that's going to improve within the second half of the year. Are you also seeing that trend?
I'm at a point that I'll believe it when I see it. Having been in Macau so long, I consider myself a student of China and the Chinese economy. And even today, I watch academic think tank panels of what's happening in China. And because of the challenges such as the real estate market in China, the problems they have with lockdowns, with COVID, aging population, decoupling, things of that nature, I'm waiting to see what will happen. Now, that being said, China is such a huge market that even if it's retracted a little bit, that's still a pretty big market segment and something that you should not ignore. And we have a team in Hong Kong that's promoting golf and our resort in China and through the Chinese media sources.
Mm-hmm. Looking at Macau, it's a massive local market. It has to be mostly coming from Guangdong, but you're not able to have local play within your casino. There is the pilot program, which has gotten extended by 1 year. What do you think is going to happen after that? Is there the possibility that locals will be able to gamble?
Yeah, I think the answer is there is certainly a possibility. As you mentioned, the pilot program originally set up by the Vietnamese government was extended for 2 years. 2024 is the last year of that 2-year extension. And I believe that the government will evaluate the results of that pilot program at the end of this year and decide what to do. Now, you could eliminate the program, you could expand the program, or leave the program as is for that matter. But I think just for the benefits that would be brought to Vietnam, and I use the acronym JET, J-E-T, to explain the benefits of the gaming industry. J, the jobs that it creates. E, the economic development that it creates. And T, the tax revenue, which may be the most important benefit that it brings. So we're cautiously optimistic. I've already done analysis of what the tax increase would look like in Vietnam if locals were allowed to gamble, and it's significant. We're talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars of extra tax revenue every single year if that decision was made to allow locals to do so. And there's certainly valid concerns of the government individuals. But I think we have models such as Singapore, which is quite restrictive. Other areas that are not less restrictive. But I think you can find a balance to assail all the problems with problem gambling.
And I mean, luckily enough, there's been such development and growth and maturity now within Asian gaming. You look at Macau, we just started the new 10-year licenses after the 20 years. There's been a lot of changes within that. But that allows for them to develop a solid model which has got data behind it.
You're 100% correct. Data is the key. As I used in a recent discussion, when we opened up Sands Macau back in 2004, we didn't have any metrics to compare, any data to compare what we should build, how many baccarat tables versus blackjack tables. Yes, the legacy casinos such as Lisboa were operating, but this is a brand new ball game, and it was just a matter of us opening up and then start collecting data and making decisions. And I think even in the industry, as a general rule, the trend is collecting more data, whether it's perfect pay tables through RFID chips, chip attribution to players, things like that. And the more data, the better decisions you can make, for sure.
Definitely. Looking at the casino floor itself at Ho Tram, you'd mentioned it's a bit of a smaller casino, but what is the makeup? How do you divide it?
Yeah, we're currently authorized to offer 90 gaming tables. We currently have that split between 45 for VIP, 45 for mass. Primarily baccarat tables, all baccarat tables on VIP, primarily baccarat tables on mass. And then we're allowed to offer up to 1,000 slot machines, but we're offering about 500 right now, and that's combined of electronic table games and EGMs as well.
Are you looking to increase that number in terms of the ETGs, EGMs?
Yeah, for us, the biggest impact will be not by expanding the number, but by renewing the gaming floor. The property was opened up a little bit more than 10 years ago, and quite frankly, when I showed up 4 years ago, the machines had not been refreshed, the floor had not been refreshed. So now we're purchasing brand new machines, and we're up right now, we're closing in on 100 new machines, and you can see the dramatic improvement in slot revenue, how effective the new machines are, and how much the customer gravitates towards those machines. That's critical because there are so-called e-gaming parlors in Ho Chi Minh that are attached to five-star hotels. And so there is actually already built-in slot market close to us that also had that foreigners only restriction. So we're about 2 hours from Ho Chi Minh. So why would somebody drive from Ho Chi Minh 2 hours to play a slot machine that's 10 years old when they can drive 5 minutes to a machine that's 2 years old? So right now we're front running that. We have the newest machines on the market, and we've seen dramatic and immediate results when that floor was refreshed. So we're very, very happy about that.
Looking at more of the VIP side, but junkets in particular, we saw the mass exodus of junkets from Macau, big changes there. How much of a focus are junket operators for Ho Tram?
That's a good question. We certainly have a number of they're called ITOs in Vietnam, international tour operators, / junkets, and it's a big part of our business. But as the same was in Macau, it's a high volume, low margin business. Whereas the mass business is a much higher business. So, the answer to your question is, well, we can focus on everything. It's just like, as we did in Macau. The question always becomes, do you focus on mass or VIP? Well, that being said, we can walk and chew gum. We can do both. We have separate teams going after VIP / ITOs and direct VIP players. At the same time, we have a separate team going after the mass business in Ho Chi Minh. So it's a significant part, but we can go after everything, and the owners just want one thing, the investors want one thing: drive EBITDA. And so any strategy that we can use, any metric we can use to drive that, we're going to certainly employ it and embrace it.
Well, that's already worked, because since you arrived, the EBITDA has already about tripled or more than tripled. So it seems to be working. As a part of that is non-gaming, though. What is the percentage of revenue from non-gaming, and do you expect that to increase?
That's a good question. I put it this way. One of the shortcomings of Ho Tram historically, when it first opened up, is that the operators, the management saw Ho Tram as a beach resort with a small casino attached to it. And coming from Macau, I realized very quickly that was a ineffective strategy. As far as I'm concerned, we're an integrated resort with casino being a central part, casino revenue being the EBITDA driver and a central part of that. So we not only want to fill hotel rooms, but we want to put casino guests in the casino. So I see it as one entity. And when we offer things, we're an event-driven company because we're about 2 hours from Ho Chi Minh, and we need to give a reason for people to make that drive. Yeah. So things such as boxing events, we engaged WBO, one of the top organizers in the world, and mixed martial arts, kickboxing, things like that. When we hold those events, the primary target might be a certain number of casino players, but we plan on filling the place up with also non-casino players to not only to sell tickets and make the cost basis lower, but to create excitement. Yeah. I don't care how hardcore of a gambler you are, no one wants to walk into an empty lobby or an empty casino. You want to see some bodies. So that's what we're trying to do. And again, if you have a casino person in a hotel room, is that non-gaming revenue? Is it gaming revenue? It's a nuanced question, but I get the answer is that it's one entity. It's a strategy that was really first embraced by, I have to say, Sheldon Adelson at the Venetian, where his strategy was, okay, fill the place with gamblers on the weekends, fill the middle of the week with MICE business. And that's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm.
Something that Macau is also trying to do. Looking at the different strategies which various casino operators or integrated resort operators in Vietnam are trying, they differ quite a bit. But do you know more or less what your market share is in Vietnam?
Actually, I don't. It's probably obtainable simply because the tax revenue that we submit to the government is given. I think it's public information. I don't know exactly what it would be. I can tell you that there's 3 major casinos in Vietnam. There's Ho Tram in southern Vietnam, again 2 hours from Ho Chi Minh. There's Hoi An Resort in Da Nang, and then there's Corona Casino in Phu Quoc Island. And so if you started the analysis with maybe 1/3, you're probably pretty close. Probably not exactly that, but that's because they're so geographically separated. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to that.
Okay. The first quarter has been, great for most operators. We're seeing that travel begin to commence or grow even stronger. We've got more flight connections, which are finally starting to be linked up. Can you give us any estimates for how your first quarter is going? Do you expect to see sequential growth?
Well, certainly the first quarter is better than last year. And last year was, again, 3 times the historical average. So we're pretty happy about that. But we not only want to grow, we want to be more effective on our penetration. So for example, last year and the year before, we had customers coming in from Korea and flying in from Korea, from Taiwan. But now we have a marketing team in Korea, we have a marketing team in Taiwan that penetrate those markets more aggressively and more effectively. So we're doing things of that nature. We're doing a data analysis of all of our events, what work, what don't work, how can we tweak those events to not only the number, but better quality events to make them more attractive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to coming and visiting the property. I haven't yet, but I expect to see some very good things, and I wish you all the best in terms of the growth.
There's an open invitation for you to come, especially when one of our events come by.
I'd be happy to.
I'm most happy when I come across somebody that came for the first time or last time 5 years ago, and they walk in the door of one of our events and they're shocked. That pleases me the most.
Good. Well, thank you again, Walter Power, the CEO of the Grand Ho Tram Resort and Casino. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.